Brought to you by NF Domains. Hey, what's good, y'all? Welcome to the next block.
How's it
What's
going,
going on?
Will? How's
I'm
it going?
good.
Well, I'm just delighted to be back here. One of my favorite shows in the entirety of the crypto space. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, you hear that, Recoup? You hear that, Cooper Daniels? John Woods is glad to be back on the best show that's out there, which is the next block.
Let's
And
get it.
obviously, thanks to everybody in the chat who's already here. I see you, Ludo, Lefty, Django. I see John from NF Domains. Thank you for being a sponsor of the show. Lefty, Christian from NifGen, Mr. Bags, Riley, Jack Snow, Vince. We got all the crew here. And obviously, they're here for one reason, and that's because a lot of these people in the chat have faith in John Woods, right? No, we love Algorand, but we
Yes.
also love the
John
work that
Woods.
obviously you're putting into Algorand and helping it grow.
Well, I think we've been trying really hard. The team at the foundation that I put together under the tech division, we're trying to push forward on a whole bunch of different things, right? So we're trying to do like this DevRel experience that's like talking to bigger companies and helping them build, because there's a few of them, I can't mention them because it wouldn't be appropriate, of course, but like there's a few big companies that are trying to build on us, and we're trying to give them special support so that they that they choose us over all the other blockchains that are out there that are also offering them help, and in some cases offering them money, and on top of that, then I'm trying to totally change the way we manage infrastructure at the foundation. And so I've got a team that are looking now at, and I mentioned in the transparency report, just like getting the best deals on the relay nodes. Like, yes, part of the network right now, before we push further into decentralization, are these relay nodes. They're responsible for propagating, which is a fancy word for sending data and the blocks around the network, and they're like a highway around the network. Okay, but of course, someone's got to manage that relationship with the various different vendors that are out there. So there's a whole bunch of different people that run these relays. We want them logically decentralized. We want them. Okay, yeah, the foundation pays for them. Okay, but we want we don't want to have all with the same vendor, or all on the same cloud provider, or all in the same data center. So we've set up relationships. But again, before we built the team out at the foundation, we didn't have someone whose job it was to kind of grind those, on those deals, get the best prices for the foundation and for the community. And so, whether it's the DevRel, the infrastructure, or even the stuff that I'm doing with Alessandro, who you'll know as Lodian on Twitter. And that stuff is like AlgoKit, the one-click nodes, and we can talk about that stuff later on. But again, they're another person within the team really pushing forward, I think, the state of the art in Algorand. And then finally, just started a small engineering team at the foundation. And again, it's only a couple of people. Brought on board an ex-colleague of mine from both Cardano and the Ethereum days, Bruno, who's leading out architecture, applied cryptography, and engineering at the foundation. And so it's not like a big engineering team. It's only one or two people, but like it's the basis on which we can hopefully start engineering things. Because I don't want to be responsible. Like the Inc., they're the sister company, and they build the protocol. But I don't want to have to always rely on the Inc. to deliver engineering prowess. I want to be able to have our own engineers at the foundation, a small team that can deliver on things like one-click nodes, things like the dev tools, maintenance of the tools, MetaMask integration. We talked about that. That's coming. It's ready to rock and roll.
That's going to be huge.
Yeah, and it's ready to go. Code complete, audit complete, everything good, secure as hell, ready to go. Just waiting on consensus to launch it in Q3. But again, someone has got to maintain that product, because in 6 months' time, MetaMask will change something, and then someone's got to go and update that plugin, and that's not something I can ask the Inc. to do. And so we need to have a small engineering team that can take down those little things. The other option, of course, is that we open source, and by the way, everything is open. It's completely open source right now, but you're relying then on the open source community, someone who's a good actor to come along and just dedicate their time, which doesn't always happen, right? So that's
so kind of going. Obviously, everybody in the chat, I'm sure, knows you're a busy guy, and you guys are working hard over there. Yes. One question I know from the community that I saw, on the tweet thread that was out there was, how is this SEC kind of overhanging the Binance and the Coinbase and all, not now, it was before, it was like, oh shoot, Algorand got listed, but now it's like they've thrown out, some of the biggest names out there, Cardano, Polygon. It's no longer like, oh shoot, Algorand's like in this like boat all by itself. Like now you're starting to see the real boat form, which is all of us outside of Bitcoin and probably Ethereum. But how is that kind of affecting your all's ability to attract, talent, attract developers, and really, help the Algorand network benefit off all the amazing things you guys have put in, work-wise the past year, right? Because it seems like everybody's just trying to stay away. How are you guys actually attracting those developers and that talent?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And so, of course, I'm all things tech at the foundation. I'm not on the financial side, so I want to stay in my lane as much as I can because it's only a personal view because I don't know enough about this stuff to really give a view. But it was strange to us because our position at the foundation is that Algorand is not a security, and it was strange when we seemed to be the only one mentioned in that time, and then so okay, all of a sudden everyone is mentioned. Okay,
right.
Okay, maybe it seems strange to me personally. I don't know much about this stuff, but it seems strange that the US wouldn't want to have that innovation there and wouldn't want to foster kind of the industry at large. The world's a big place, of course, bigger than the United States, but the United States is an important part of it, and it's a big part of it, certainly on the tech side of things. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. Certainly, to answer your question, we haven't seen a drop off in interest. I mean, even by the way, when we were the only ones that were mentioned, now that everyone's mentioned, there's no change. I mean, we're still as active as ever. We still have more and more devs. AlgoKit, as I mentioned during the week, had 10,000 projects started, within the AlgoKit piece of software itself. And so we're seeing enormous growth, despite the fact that we're obviously in a bear market. Price has been dropping. Everyone is aware of that. The acts of regulators in the US, there's not as much clarity as we would like. Generally, we don't believe it's a security, and we'll have to see how this stuff all plays out. But in general, maybe it's a good thing that everyone is now in the same boat.
Right.
Yeah, 61 total cryptos listed.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Except for Ethereum, weirdly. I don't know why that one is not.
Yeah. I mean, and I would say, it's not all too, I feel like hidden in the shadows as to why the SEC is doing what they're doing. I mean, I feel like some people, I'm not going to say what I believe, but I feel like everybody has their own idea of like, there's motives. Everybody has motives in what's being done. Gary Gensler has motives, and he's, sometimes for a lot of, lack of better words, sometimes he's a puppet, right? And so of bigger people that are pulling his strings, I would say. Yes. But let's bring it back, because I want to kind of push back a little bit, John, on something you said. And I know I am a huge fan of Algorand, and I don't like to, maybe I feel like JT's better strong suit to kind of hit those, pointed questions. Sure. But you said that, AlgoKit is bringing in the developers, and, you're seeing that growth. You haven't really seen it drop off. From my perspective, and this is just looking at the stats over on Algo Explorer, I look at, I think it was like December, January. I think I'd asked you, what is the foundation's goals for TPS? Like seeing that like real actual transactions happening on the network. And at that time, I think, your all's 2023 goal was to, have it close to like 40 or 50 or, just doing obviously more than it was, which I think at the time was around 15, maybe 12 transactions per second.
It was up to 25 at one point.
Yeah. And that was kind of, I guess, right in that, when Bitcoin had hit its bottom and things were looking up, and now we've kind of, got to a point where Bitcoin's kind of recovered. Algorand, as far as price and looks like activity wise has gone down, because right now it shows the latest activity is right at 5 transactions per second. Yep. Why are we maybe seeing the developers use AlgoKit and and you're saying it's not dropping off, but yet it seems like the live transactions, like people aren't really using the network. Like some people have even said, I've not noticed it. I mean, I see one here, but one block had only 6 transactions in it. Some people have said they've seen blocks with 0 transactions in it. So, hit me back with that.
And that's every 3 seconds. Let's clear with that.
And to even say, the TPS, the speed of the blocks has even gone down since the last time we talked. I think it's gone from like right above 4 seconds to under 3. I think
it was 3.3 or something.
Yeah, we're kind of 3.3 for 10,000 TPS at the moment, more or less.
Yeah, okay. But as Mr. Bags put on the tweet yesterday, talk us off the ledge, right? He's a guy who's obviously a big holder of Algo and believes in the network, believes in the activity that is going to come. Kind of show us or tell us what you're seeing, though.
Yeah, no, and I think that's fair. I think that it's natural, and I've seen this, by the way, when I worked on Ethereum. I was there for one of the largest bear markets. It was when like the price hit. At one point, it fell from I think around $1,200 per Ethereum coin down to around about 80. And it was really, I remember being quite depressed. That might sound like a lot. $80 might sound like a lot in absolute terms for a coin, but it's not in terms of the number of coins that were available on Ethereum.
Right.
Because there wasn't billions of Ethereum. It has a much lower issuance at that point.
Yeah.
And so it was very much affecting the startups that were building on Ethereum because they were running out of money. And it was even affecting large organizations where I worked, like Consensus, where they had to make headcount cuts because they couldn't afford the 1,000 employees that they had, as an example. And these things are natural to a degree. And so, of course, no one can predict the future clearly, and no one can predict where the markets are going to go. But in general, I would say that it's natural to have some attrition in terms of transactions per second as the market puts downward pressure on price. It just kind of is something that correlates.
Yeah.
At the same time, that's not kind of an excuse to hide behind, because I think we want to see stable or at least kind of slowly dropping TPS if that's something that we have to put up with in a downward cycle. And I think there's a few things that contribute towards this. The first, I would say, is that AlgoKit is like pretty much, a couple of months old, right? So it's only been out there in a stable version 1.0 way for a couple of months. And so people have only had a couple of months to kind of get used to this whole new way of developing. And by the way, we launched version 1.1 a week or so back, which again rounds off some of the sharp edges on our version 1.0 release, because of course those things we wanted to improve, and adds like the ability to interact with your DApp via TypeScript and pure Python interface. So it's pretty cool stuff, and it's starting to actually become something that is really cool rather than something that's just a step up from where we were.
Yep.
So it's just going to take a little bit of time for that like shot in the arm, which is AlgoKit, to manifest in actual transactions per second on the network. That's my belief. I think if you look at testnet, I think we're seeing a lot of activity on it. It doesn't mean sustained TPS, but in terms of the number of apps deployed to it and stuff, we've seen a big uptick there. And I do think that will translate over time into mainnet TPS. And let me be clear, mainnet TPS is critical for me because it is a measure of the lifeblood to a degree of the network. And yes, you can have people building. Yes, you can have people excited. You can have people speculating, all these kind of things. But ultimately, like any operating system, you want apps. You want it to be used. You want it to be, as I mentioned, a metropolis, a hive of activity. So I won't, try to hide away from that. I think it's something we have to face up to and be real about. I think it's important that the TPS grows on the network. There's another thing, though. So that's one thing. I think, just to be clear, I do think we're going to see that shot in the arm, which is AlgoKit, which, by the way, for folks who maybe haven't heard of it yet, is a piece of software that helps you build apps in Algorand. It's everything you need to build apps in Algorand. It's the Xcode or Android Studio of Algorand. And so over time, it takes people a little bit of time to kind of get some ideas to deploy and to get up and running, but we're going to see more from AlgoKit. The second thing is that there have been a number of actual unrelated entities who are using the network who have run into technical difficulties because they were working with third parties who maybe let them down. And so, so I can't get into the absolute specifics of it, but we lost some transactions despite transactions per second because a number of large power users ended up having trouble downstream with some of their providers. And so we are working directly with them right now to bring them back online. And so it's just simply a case of they're there, they have the app, they have the use case, they have the want, they have the money, they're ready to rock and roll, but their solution isn't working at the moment. So we're quite literally, this is my little engineering team that we started with Bruno, quite literally working to help them at a code level to build out their backend microservices so that they can get back up and running. It's not an Algorand issue. It's not a smart contract issue. It's traditional engineering, Web 2, microservice backend issue. They're hitting some friction. And so we're literally working with them. And so you'll probably see a little spike over the next couple of weeks back up to where it was around 11 or 12 naturally, because we're going to resolve some of these things. But then to go from there to where I was hoping to get to, which is 40 or 50, I think that that's going to be something that hopefully organically comes with things like AlgoKit, making it so much easier to build on the chain. But the hard reality of it is that when the markets are down, enthusiasm for deploying new apps tends to correlate.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'll say I got a few follow-ups. So with these like 10,000 projects, are these all on testnet basically? And has some of them went into the mainnet or are live, or can you tell from that standpoint?
Yeah, I don't. I try not to speak hyperbolically. I try not to be too hypey about things because I think it lacks integrity sometimes, and I see a lot of it from leaders in the space in crypto. And I'm not picking on anyone in particular, but like I do, especially from smaller chains and stuff. You see a lot of chat that's not actually, that doesn't translate into meaningful things. But it gets a bit frustrating when like I look at the electric, whatever it's called, electric coin company or whatever they are. Maybe that's not the right term, but there's some company that does like, they have a GitHub where they track developers on various networks. And
I can't think of the name. Yep.
I can't. Yeah, it's electric something. I can't think of the name of the project, but they had marked Algorand in 2022 as like 50. But again, these numbers are a little bit fuzzy, but like something like 55 devs. And then in 2023, they had like total number of devs that were on Algorand was like 170 active developers within Algorand generally. And what I Electric Capital, thank you, Christian. And so I'm not picking on these guys specifically. Maybe they've misconfigured their repos. Maybe they're not tracking repositories. Maybe some of the repos are private. You know, there's many things that could lead to this number being inaccurate. But the thing about it is that I'm trying to change the narrative about Algorand. I'm trying to let people see the level of activity that I see. And so when we launched AlgoKit, I wanted to know how many people were using it. But I didn't want to have telemetry in the you know, the Facebook style, if you like, phone home. I didn't want to be. Privacy is important to me, just generally by design.
Yep.
And so what we have is when you start AlgoKit, when you kind of go file a new project, it reaches out to GitHub, just to GitHub to an open source repo to pull a certain file. It doesn't have to pull that file. We could have included it as part of the thing, but it kind of pulls this template file every time you run it. It's a very tiny file, so it doesn't use much data. But that gives us a sense of how many projects are started. We can't see what they're called or what they are or anything like that. But we can just, because it pulls this open source file, we get a sense of how many projects are out there. And so I thought to myself, wow, you know, when I seen this number being thrown around, it was like footed a lot, this like 190 devs or 170 devs or whatever it was. And people were like, Jesus, man, there really only 100 odd people building on Algorand. And then when we launched AlgoKit and we seen like unique downloads of like, you know, 5,000-6,000 in the first couple of weeks, it was like, wow, no, there's not 170 people.
A lot more than.
Yeah, maybe some dude has got 2 computers, right? But like, it's still going to be thousands of people who are downloading. And then I was like, well, of course, it kind of slows a little bit because everyone gets it, and then pretty much everyone has it. It's like, you know, everyone downloads Microsoft Word, and then people stop downloading it, right? So like, you don't expect to see constant growth of a dev tool because people tend to build their dev setup, and then they only upgrade when you launch 1.1. And so we launched 1.1, and again we see this boom, huge, thousands of people downloading it again. And so then I'm feeling like, you know, I want to put a metric out there. I want to kind of, it's a little bit hyperbolic, but I want to turn around and let people know exactly how many projects a human being went to their computer and typed, you know, file new project in AlgoKit to build something on Algorand, even if it could be to play around or it could be something more serious. And that number is just under 10,000 projects that were started with AlgoKit. And again, there might be some dude out there who started a project 5 times, but ultimately it gives you an insight into like, this is not 170 devs. This is thousands of people who are interested in this platform. And I know it seemed to piss off a few people that tweet, but I guess I was just trying to like let people see an insight into like just how great Algorand is and how much the developer ecosystem is growing, you know?
Facts. So you got to say what you got to say.
Yeah, and even Joe Polney said Electric Capital's data set is open source, so it's a matter of getting projects to submit their repos to Electric Capital and in parentheses and getting projects to open source in the first place. So
that means we have to projects got to list themselves then.
Yeah, no, and Joe's very balanced in his view, and I can't argue with that. But in general, I feel like if they're really interested in knowing, then don't publish a number that you know is going to incite FUD, right? Like don't publish.
They love FUD.
Yeah, we love, but like, you know, when you publish a number that says, hey, there's only 170 dudes in this space, that's like, you know,
it's a lot.
Yeah, but like it's just like, you know, it's adding to the FUD narrative, and I just don't. It's not a good.
So my last follow up with this AlgoKit is like, how are Algorand promoting it? I've seen some ads on Twitter, but like, what are some ways that you guys are strategically moving around to get this thing out?
Yeah, so again, this is kind of like probably not a CTO-y thing, so I don't want to misspeak.
Got you.
But I'll give you an insight. You know, this is a marketing thing, and we have Jess, who's brilliant, and she's our CMO. And
shout out to Jess.
You guys met her, right? So we've been on together actually, yeah. And so you know, she has some incredible ideas, but pitching a a product, because I like to think of AlgoKit like a product, like same way like Apple Vision Pro, like it's just another product, but the target audience is different, right? It's developers, and the way you pitch products to developers is a little bit different, I think, to how you pitch products to the retail, if you like. And so she ran an amazingly successful, her and her team, I should say, as well, because it's like, again, like, yeah, Jess and I are there, whatever, but like we have all these people who are working with us that make this stuff possible. I wouldn't be able to do this on my own, and neither was she. And so like she ran an incredibly successful campaign around AlgoKit when it first launched, and we had Twitter was alive with a buzz, or I don't know if you remember at the time. But
yeah, we remember. It was popping.
Yeah, it was hopping. Like, and I think that's all you can ask of your marketing team, is to kind of make people be talking about it and make it exciting for a couple of days. And then the product's got to speak. It's got to have it stand on its own 2 feet and actually be good enough that people use it. And I think that it is. Like, I get a lot of people ping me, say, "Hey, this is pretty great" and stuff. And I don't see a lot of negativity. And by the way, if people have points they want to improve, if they see something that's not good with AlgoKit, let me know. I want to improve it. We want to improve it. But I think that was pretty great. She also ran a campaign in Austin, Texas. Things like when you're going down the escalators or travelators, whatever, and you can see AlgoKit right there. So we're doing kind of like precision marketing, where we're going after the right people in the right context, rather than just kind of blanket paying for ads on Google and larger venues, because it's just not worth it. So it's quite bespoke.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I've even noticed that some projects have created templates for AlgoKit, and I think that would help a lot when they do their hackathons and all their contests.
Yeah, and like, I don't want to turn this whole thing into a massive ad for AlgoKit, but just one last thing, which is like, it is part of the strategic plan for Algorand. It is how we onboard new developers in an easy way. And by the end of this year, we're going to have version 2.0. And version 2.0 is deeply focused on more accessibility. It's about bringing it to an even more, even less technical audience. And so we're going to have tools in there that allow you to express smart contracts in a way that's so simple, a high school student could do it. And on top of that, we're going to have technologies in there which will allow you not only to build the smart contract piece, which is what we focused on when we did 1.0, it's all about the smart contracts, but now version 2.0 is going to broaden that out. So it's going to help you do the web front end, it's going to help you do the website, it's going to help you do the apps, right, the client apps. And so this is where we're kind of really bringing a one-stop shop for your entire deployment within AlgoKit. So I think it's going to be very cool, and people are going to like it.
Yeah. And I agree. I do think, like I said, AlgoKit's only been live for a couple months, or I don't know the exact time frame, but it's still in its infancy. And so there is a lot to still be seen, at least from a data perspective, on how well it's performed. I think we'll have to revisit that within a year, and hopefully once the bull market's back, to really see the effect of what you guys, the hard work that you and your team have put in, some of the guys you said you're on the engineering team. So one other thing to kind of still go along with that, and I know Algorand is still lacking some basic things that Ethereum has to really bring in some of these, maybe next level applications. I mean, one thing, we need an Oracle, right? And so Oracle is getting ready to launch. Yep. That's exciting. And I know that will possibly bring in, tons of other opportunities, but something I kind of want to kind of go back to a little bit on the TPS side of it is, I feel like a lot of people in the Algorand ecosystem have seen a lot of these partnerships with like AgroToken and obviously FIFA, that was a big one, even the next gen shoes. But there's been a lot of these higher profile, and we go back to Planet Watch as well, which has been, actually helped a lot of the TPS over the years. And to me, it seems like those partnerships should really be, we should be trying to build those up to where they could be stressed to the max type thing, because of maybe they have the network to actually bring the TPS to really flex Algorand's tech. And then that would be what draws other people to come, use it, like seeing Fly Bondi, AgroToken, and those things get more notice. I guess where are we at with some of those bigger partnerships that were made in actually using Algorand on a daily basis and stuff?
Yeah, sure. And a lot of this stuff is managed by Min and other people from the ecosystem side who and the impact side. So I mean, I don't speak with these guys on a day-to-day basis, but I agree we need to champion the kind of the jewels in the crown. And I do agree that, and by the way, we do give tons of support to these projects where we are, both technical, marketing, and other things. I think, of course, over time, by the way, not every single one of them has been a hit. Some of them have been foundation things. Some of them have been ink things. I'm not saying that they've all been super successful. Some of them have not. Some of them have. But like, I think we need to just get to a place where they become sustainable. I think, again, I can tell you, if this was a bull market where, the price is going from $1 to $1.50, no one's got any problems. Everyone's able to
everyone's happy.
look after themselves generally, right? I think when the token price is down, then a lot of people need support. So sometimes the foundation only has, whatever, like 30, 40, 50 people or whatever working for it. It's not that many. I don't know exactly because I'm not on that side of things, but it's relatively small. And so there's only so many resources there. And so I think, at some point, especially technical resources, so we can be stretched quite thin in that. And so, yeah, in general, I think we do need to get these projects to a place where they're sustainable. I think projects like Book.io, another great example of a fantastic project that came along, great product, great idea, works really well, didn't need much help or anything like that. We just co-promoted them a little bit, and they're off and flying. And so hopefully we will have these organic, self-sustaining projects that are just like fantastic. For those that are, inherently important to the network or have that rich history with the network, or we're very early on Algorand, I do think it's important to help them, and we are working to help them. But again, we're trying to balance that with, keeping enough resources dry for smaller upcoming startups and that kind of thing. It's a trickier act to balance than it might look from the outside, I think.
And as I'm sure most things are. Another question from the community was, obviously with, we're not in a bull market, or at least Algorand is not in any type of bull market price wise. How much, and like I said, I don't know, I know you're not the finance guy, so this, I'm not asking specific financials, but how hard is it right now with the price going down for your all's runway and looking forward to, what you guys are trying to build and make it through? I mean, are you guys feeling the heat, or does the foundation still feel secure that, even if the bull market doesn't come back till, say mid next year, right, that you guys will still be there? And, I would even say some people have said in the community that, trimming the flock, right, and making sure that it is bare bones to really just you have what you need to get through it, right? Because I feel like most people in the Algorand ecosystem are on that camp. Like, let's not be spending extra money on fluff. Let's just pay for the bare bones what we need so that Algorand can make it through and be what it needs to be once the bull market comes back. What are you seeing on your side?
Yeah, sure. The actual general morale at the foundation and the general kind of vibe in the air is really, really positive. And I think that's because, by the way, just generally, crypto, whatever you want to call it, Web3, it attracts people that are somewhat ideological, if that's maybe the right term, i.e. people who are kind of like, will be unswayed by anything, that they will go out and they run in a thunderstorm because they love running so much. And so it does tend to attract people that are kind of unbreakable a little bit about, and so, yeah, in general, I would just say that it's not that we're oblivious to this stuff, but in general, spirits are high at the foundation, and we deeply believe in what we're doing, and we deeply believe that we're going to be successful with this network. I completely agree. And again, I'm not on the finance side, so I don't know anything about the finances, but we're good. We're healthy. I think we're going to have no problem getting through the next couple of years, of course. And additionally, though, I would say that does not mean, financial health does not mean that you should be inefficient. And so I absolutely agree that being lean is the way to do it. And of course, I've not run large organizations, so I'm not the CEO, so I don't know how these things are done generally. But if you look within the orgs at the foundation, you will see that they're pretty damn lean. Can we make them leaner? Potentially, yes. Yep. But I think we're kind of like operating pretty tight at the moment. But in general, by the way, that is a core philosophy that I think is important. It's how I operate my own personal finances. Being lean and not being wasteful is super important. And so, yeah, we're healthy, we're good. Morale is high, despite the fact that, sometimes, by the way, it does get a bit grim when you're on Twitter and people are just are angry all the time. And so, yeah.
I got another question too. To bring it back a little bit more, a few months back, we talking about morale. Is there any word on what truly happened with the MyAlgo hack, or is that kind of?
Yeah, no, so absolutely. So, and again, I think a lot of people, I see this a lot, not directed at me per se, but I see a lot of kind of people.
We all like John Woods, but go ahead.
But people will say, what's up with MyAlgo? And so, look, the straight facts of it are, we like not the foundation, but we paid a company to do a forensic evaluation. They found that there was they found the malicious code. They found the smoking gun. They found the reason why. And so basically what happened was an API key for their CDN provider. And I can go into what all those things mean if you're interested. But basically, keys to the kingdom for the company that hosts the files. So when you go to a website like Netflix, it used to be years ago in the 90s, you'd be hitting one computer somewhere in the United States and the message would come back. After a while, when websites start getting huge, like MyAlgo or Netflix or whatever, you can't just have one computer and you have to have this battery of computers. And then the entire companies started springing up saying, hey, I'll make my entire job just serving your files. And so big websites go to these companies and pay them to serve the files. Totally cool.
Makes
Those
sense.
companies give you like a secret key that you use to upload the files and change your files, because it's up to you what your files are. And that secret key that was in the MyAlgo backend was exfiltrated or stolen in some way, and was used to upload to the CDN. We call it a CDN worker. So in this content distribution network that basically serves the files, it also serves scripts and stuff like that. And so this malicious script was served. That meant that MyAlgo would come up. It would look like a normal MyAlgo website. It would prompt you to enter your secret key, and people would copy paste their secret key from their notes or 1Password or wherever. And it would let you into your account. But just before it would let you in and derive the key and just show you your balance and all that kind of stuff, it was sending this malicious bit of code that was injected from the CDN, was sending your passphrase over to an offshore server. Now, yeah. And so the thing about it is that that malicious code was absolutely targeted. So it was intended to do what it did. People didn't realize it because unless you were watching all the code come into the web, to come into your web browser, you wouldn't see this thing.
Or like the terminal or something.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have to watch all the web calls. So really, really sneaky, really malicious. And so they know how it happened. And so this is where we left it, right? So of course the FBI don't only give. I don't talk to the FBI about this because I'm not dealing with it directly. But the FBI basically, they have all the forensic information. They know the server that the keys were being sent to. So that was like an Amazon server in Portugal or something. I can't remember exactly, but it was like, so now they have a lead, right? They can go to Amazon and say, hey, who's the customer in Portugal? But all that stuff kind of takes time. Now, it's no fun if your funds being stolen and you're watching them be liquidated. Totally get that. Totally get that. So I'm not trying to say that like, oh, look at us, how great we are, we solved it. But yeah, we do know how it happened. So
it's good to know that that's what most people want is like, how did it happen? We want to know that the blockchain wasn't compromised. That's usually the main thing.
Sure. And look, this is a multi-$100 million, billion-dollar project. And so it's important for people to know, despite the fact that obviously it absolutely stings for people who've lost money, it's important that people know that it's not a problem broadly with the entire network, and it's not. And then just to say that, ironically, in a way, it wasn't even the security crypto stuff of MyAlgo. It was effectively a human error where a Web 2 secret was leaked in some way, and using Web 2 technologies, a CDN, which is a Web 2 Netflix style technology, that was basically hijacked by a bad user, wasn't noticed, and then this thing went down. And so all we can do now really is wait for the FBI or the law enforcement within the United States to kind of get through Amazon, subpoena who they need to subpoena, whatever the word is. I don't know all the words, but to basically dig down into this stuff and then try to find the actor. I do think that they're going to do it, but it's so slow.
Yep.
So here's the thing that I would say is what's needed, right? To even, because here's the thing, just like in Web 2 world and just like in your own financial world, like as great as our banks are, as great as our internet is, scams happen all the time everywhere in any industry. Like, crypto, obviously, yes, it gets highlighted a lot when scams happen because it's a new, emerging enterprise and industry. But I would say, where is Algorand at with getting things like and helping companies like Nimble, Vendable as far as like privacy,
day by day,
also day by day, and Nimble as far as insurance, because people need the security that they have when they go to a bank, right? And I deposit $100,000. I know, at least from my credit union, that hey, my funds are secured up to $250,000. That's what it says there. So where are you guys? I know you said you're working with a lot of different projects. Where are you guys at with helping Nimble and GoVendable and stuff like that with getting their products up and running to help give Algorand users more security with more of their funds?
Yeah, sure. Good question. So a few things. One, by the way, we made the decision at the foundation not to reimburse the victims of the MyAlgo hack. And I feel like, by the way, I've lost money. I lost money in Mt. Gox. I lost a ton of Bitcoin in Mt. Gox, like in today's terms would be life-changing money.
Yeah.
And like I'm getting back like, I don't know, like 1/17 of it or something. Like it's
oh wow.
Yeah.
So, and after I pay tax on it, it's like basically like it's like, I don't know, 15 grand or something. I mean, it's nice, but it's not like I'm not gonna be able to retire on it. But like, I mean, I'm sure, all I'm trying to say there is like I've lost money. I've been gutted by this personally. Like it's and so
it's a gutting feeling.
Yeah, you felt the pain as others have.
Yeah, it's horrible. And so and some people, by the way, they've lost millions of dollars in that hack. And so it's disgusting. And by the way, the person who did it is a total shit person. Like, what kind of shit person is that?
Agree.
And maybe it's a little bit more anonymous because you don't have to look at the faces of your victims, but like you're a shit person for doing that, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so but we made the decision not to pay, not to reimburse, I should say, the people who were affected. It's a difficult decision.
Yeah.
And there's views on both sides, but ultimately, I mean, I can't summarize the decision why, but effectively, when you do that, you set a precedent, right? And then there's so many people who have been affected by so many different scams over the years across so many different things, or people have lost their keys because maybe they genuinely just like they lost their hardware wallet and they didn't record the seed, or their phone got dropped into a pool and they'd forgotten to record the seed or whatever. And so it's very, very difficult to make a decision for some people who have been misfortunate versus other people. And so, and then where does the money come from? Well, it has to come from community funds and other things. And then so you need everyone to agree on it, and it's just not possible. And it sets a precedent that's very difficult to kind of move forward with. And so I think it was the right decision, despite the fact that I know some people wish that the foundation would refund their money.
I agree with the decision too. You don't want to start that precedent because anything can happen and something will happen.
Right. And if
that's why things like Nimble are going to be important, I would say.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I'll come on to Nimble in a second. So, but like and if you look at what Ethereum did, okay, by the way, the Ethereum DAO hack, and again, people say, well, Ethereum rolled back the chain or whatever they did, when they rolled back the chain effectively, and they kind of went pop black to a certain block. But the problem with doing that is that that caused a massive schism in Ethereum, right? We have Ethereum and Ethereum Classic because of that very thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
B, you unwind all the transactions, that some of which are actually valid, right?
Yeah.
And some of them, some guy has gotten a computer and he's paid the guy, and now all of a sudden the money's back in his wallet, and so that's going to hurt people. And then, and then finally, I just don't think that's very. I don't think it's the right thing to do in a blockchain context. I think I just don't think I don't think it was a good idea for Ethereum either. And also, if Ethereum had like something like 20-something% of the supply locked in that contract. So it was the equivalent of say 2 billion or 2.5 billion algo being robbed, right, or being stolen. So it was at a different scale again. I'm not saying that this was trivial, but like say 30 or 40 million is different to 2.5 billion being taken.
Right.
So there's many angles on it. I just want to kind of, just because I'm sure a lot of people are like, Jesus, man, why don't they just pay these people back and everything will be fine? But you can see it can be a little bit harder to kind of do the right way.
Right.
Hey, for the audience, can you leave any questions or comments you have in there? We're going to try to get John to answer a few by the end of the show, but go ahead, John.
Yeah, and on Nimble, look, good idea, interesting product. I think I haven't been dealing with them directly, but I know that colleagues at the foundation have been speaking to them directly. They seem like interesting guys. Fully support the idea of insurance. I think it could be a cool product. The problem is whether or not right now there's a critical mass to kind of support that business, right? The way insurance works, as far as I understand, is that you need a certain amount of kind of people insured. And so if it's kind of like, if you don't have the critical mass in terms of the actuarial science to build the insurance pot so that you can pay out to the few that are affected, I don't know how well it works. And so maybe it's something we could look at helping them with.
I feel like I often think of like, we insure so many things. Like I pay an extra $7 on my AT&T, right, to ensure if I drop my phone and my screen smashes, that I can just take it and they'll fix it, right? I feel like that's definitely something that this space would, it would give me, like, I don't have, all of my life savings in crypto, but if I had a large sum of money, it would definitely I would feel more secure bringing it on chain and using DeFi and using different things if I knew, hey, I can pay a small fee, every month, and it can just automatically come out of my account. And then, if something like the MyAlgo or Tiny Man Hack or even like MetaMask or, it could be something bigger like Ethereum, that is, I think, still what is really needed for people to really trust and to build that trust in the Web3 space. But
sure.
It's still, there's still a lot that has to be done there.
Yeah, and by the way, Unconvincable, great guys, love them. Speak with Gwyn and the team regularly. They're pals of mine. Get on really well with them. Think they're doing cool stuff. Fully support their projects. Same with Algo Foundry and others. There's lots of people out there with great products and even like Ledger. You've seen recently they had that obviously that drama
right.
where
yeah.
So again,
that was
I think
confusion.
Generally we need to educate people so people understand the risks and caveats of what they're of the key management software they're using, or hardware in this case. And just generally, I think we need to be evolving the space so it's easier to manage. And I think these are huge tasks. I think this is for the entire industry, a task that needs to be taken down. But in general, completely support the idea of making wallet software secure and more accessible. It's something probably we should cover on a video, really.
Yeah. And IRL has a good, comment there. Thanks for joining the show, IRL. Wallet user experience has taken so many steps back since MyAlgo. I've actually heard this quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I did I've used Para along with MyAlgo and still use Para right now. What can Algorand do to bolster its wallet experience in light of everything that's happened? Obviously, MyAlgo, restarting is probably about like FTX restarting. It doesn't need to happen. It just needs to probably go away, and we need to start with something fresh or a fresh idea. What are your thoughts there to actually improve the wallet experience for Algorand users?
Yeah, actually, what's interesting is that I spoke to them recently, and apparently active users is really back up near where it was before the hack. Interestingly enough,
you're talking about for MyAlgo.
Yeah.
Or are you talking about?
I haven't used it since that happened.
Yeah,
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't even know that they were like actually allowing people to create wallets. The last time I even went on there, they
had a big on disclaimer last time I checked.
Yeah, I haven't been on either actually, but that's what I heard. I heard like monthly active users back to not back to normal, but like back to 80% of what it was or whatever.
Okay.
But just generally, I think I've spoken briefly about this before. The idea that like self-sovereignty in blockchain is actually one of the cool bits, man. It's like, I don't want that to go away. I personally wouldn't custody my crypto with someone else. But of course, with that comes responsibility. Right now, that means a private key that's a large number in the range of 0 to 2 to the 256, which is we represent as 24 words. And that's not a great onboarding experience. And people screenshot it. They screenshot on their iPhone, or they take a picture with their phone or whatever. And so it's we have to work on that. And so there's a bunch of different things that people are looking at there, whether it's multi-party computation or things like PAKE, like password authenticated key exchange. There's a handful of mathematical voodoo that we're kind of is being designed to kind of make that experience better. But we're certainly not there yet. But this is not an algo problem. This is an industry problem.
Yep.
I hear people though around the options that are available. So broadly, you need a great mobile experience, a great desktop experience, and you need a great hardware experience. And right now, hardware means Ledger on Algo.
Yeah.
And so I think Para gives a great mobile experience. I agree without MyAlgo, we don't really have a fantastic desktop experience. I know Para are trying to do something there, but it's still young.
Yeah.
And we also need to improve on the Ledger experience or the hardware experience, because Para supports it, but not for multi-sig. DeFi supports it with multi-sig, but it's new. There's not a desktop version of that. And we're looking, there's a couple of different people have come to me and suggested the foundation could pay to build something that's focused around, or share the cost of building something around Ledger and desktop. And so we will see these things evolve. And one last thing I'd say on this is that in the free market, like in general, if Coca-Cola went under, someone would spring out and bring out a new cola-based beverage, right? The market vacuum fills with some other entrepreneurial spirit. And so I'm not trying to sound too philosophical about it, but I kind of feel like it's shit when these things happen. But if we have failures of certain wallets that were very popular, if they don't manage to get back on their own feet, the power vacuum, or not the power vacuum, but the product vacuum will be there, and the market will bring something else. And I think a great example of this is like Alu. You look at Alu from the guys behind AlgoNode, and this is a wonderful. It's gated at the moment, so you need an NFT to use it. But I've been playing with it, and It's gorgeous. It's super cool. And again, that came from a person who decided to do something and build something because they didn't like what was in the space. And so I kind of like to let the kind of free market do its thing, but with the foundation supporting where it can.
Makes sense. So when we talk about other wallets or you mentioned MetaMask. So will MetaMask, is that going to be like, the MetaMask, you got to click the button, click which platform you're going to be using. So Algorand would just be like another platform within the MetaMask?
Yes, precisely. And so we integrate the official way. It's not any kind of hack or messing around. It's like they have this framework they call Snap. This is Consensus who own MetaMask. And so we've used this Snap framework, which is a JavaScript-based framework, I understand, to integrate officially. And so that's why we kind of need Consensus to launch with us, because although we're code complete, ready to go, we've got a box. We've given them the box. It's been audited by a third party. They're good with it. We kind of need them to put it in the App Store, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Makes sense. Okay.
Nice. There's also another question here by Jacopo or Jacob P. But what are there's, and this is, you can kind of tell me just what you're excited about, what you guys are building on as well. But what are the highest priority researches happening for Algorand, right? Privacy layer, ZK, stuff, zero knowledge stuff, or is it, with you, is it one-click nodes? Where are you guys at with that? What's kind of exciting to be looking forward to if you are someone who's in Algorand, from the tech standpoint and what you guys are building for the next, couple quarters?
Yeah, I think what Jacopo is speaking about here is really cryptographic research, right? So,
Jacopo, thank you.
Yeah. So, I think privacy is really important. It's still in R&D. We have this kind of triangle, right? And so you got, Silvio and Algorand Labs on the top. We got like the Inc over here and the foundation over here, and we kind of triforce together, right? And so we're all kind of pushing in the same direction. But generally speaking, I think areas of research are actively increasing the decentralization factor. So that's things like moving into a post-relay world. How might the network look where there's not relays, where there's just participation nodes? How do they talk to each other? How do we do that whilst maintaining the speed of finality? Because of course that's not something we want to sacrifice on. That's Algorand's secret sauce. This idea that you don't have rollbacks, that you have no forks, that you have instant finality. I think certainly we're very interested in privacy. We're very interested in zero knowledge tech. State proof supports is an example of us using post quantum primitives. So we're also interested in moving to a place where the chain is secured against quantum computers, which I believe are going to become a threat in the near term. So in the medium term, right? So in the kind of 8 to 10 year time frame, I think it's going to be a credible threat, certainly at a government level, from my understanding of the engineering in the space. And so right now we have quantum security for the history of the chain, but not for accounts. So an account spend key is not quantum resistant, and also not for the consensus algorithm. So the VRF itself. So the VRF, which is the heart of the consensus algorithm, that is not post quantum primitive. So if you had a quantum computer right now, you can attack accounts and you can attack the VRF. This is by the way true for all blockchains. You can attack Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. This is nothing new, but we need that's the space we need to advance on.
So quantum, I'm just to get a little clarity for myself, we're not even there with quantum in the world yet, if I'm correct.
No, so we do have like these toy versions of quantum computers where the number of, they call them qubits rather than bits because they're in this quantum superposition state where they're ones and zeros at the same time. But like they have these like machines that are small in terms of their bit width, and so, or their qubit width, and so we know how to do it. We've proven that it's possible. So theoretically, it's all good. It's a little bit like, you're trying to you build a mini bouncing castle and you want to like scale it up to be like absolutely enormous. They're just trying to scale it up right now. And when they do scale it up, then it will be able to attack people. Attack crypto. Not just cryptocurrencies, but crypto in general.
Yeah, because I watch Ant-Man and the Wasp or with the Kang Dynasty or whatever, and so I'm always thinking like quantum, like that's really small. I know that for sure.
So if people want to learn more, the things you got to research are Grover's algorithm, which is a quantum algorithm for breaking symmetric cryptography, and Shor's algorithm, which is a quantum algorithm for breaking asymmetric cryptography, which is the one that's important for our little world. And so if they get a large enough quantum computer with error correcting qubits in superposition that's big enough to run Shor's against 256-bit elliptic curve primitives, then we are in trouble. And so here's the great thing though. All the blockchains that are out there, none of them, except for Algorand that I'm aware of, have any quantum security. Algorand is the only one that's got quantum security. But again, like I said, there's three parts to this. There's the history, the accounts, and the future. and we have it for the history of the chain. We don't have it for the accounts in the future yet, but we are ahead of other chains in the sense that we've actually taken the first step there.
I like that.
That's an area in active research, but also privacy is killer, right? ZK primitives, privacy. I don't think we need layer 2 scaling because we're fast enough.
No. Yeah. You know, something that, you know, and this is maybe it was one of the questions up here from Kurt Wilson, and I don't know how much you'd be even able to answer this, but it was, has the foundation ever thought about going public? You know, you could, you know, to actually invite investors to invest, I guess, to, you know, if this bear market were to even last, you know, longer than what's expected, you know, what is the, you know, what does that look like if, for actually making sure that something like Algorand does survive and actually become useful, you know, if we were to see some crazy prolonged bear market? Because I feel like that's the thing that a lot of people fear, right? Is, you know, Algorand has this great tech. It's the thing that's making all the right strides, yet it doesn't have the attention maybe that Ethereum or some of these other ones that are just all hype and don't have the meat to them. You know, what is, you know, I guess, what are your thoughts there? Would that ever be something you think that the Algorand Foundation would consider?
Well, I guess there's another one of these questions that it's not really in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I know, right? I know.
But what I would say is just broadly, philosophically, I would probably not really like that idea, because I feel, and it's a personal thing, but I just feel like foundations should be impartial, non-profit, and I think as soon as you introduce investors, you lose control. It's the same with you know, any company. When you own it, it's your family business. You're the boss. When even if you look at large companies like Apple, they're answerable to the board and to the investor, to the shareholder. And I think it's not something that I think we should do. But having said all that, of course, it's important to sustain, and I think we're gonna be just fine. I think if you look, it takes a while for these market cycles to happen, but when we get back into a positive market cycle, because if you look now and you Google crypto, it's, you know, bad news, and Google
negative.
But like when we're back in a positive market cycle, because things are cyclic, people just eventually get sick of one direction. Algorand, as you said earlier on, just there, Dave, is like it's got the meat on the bones that's going to make the cream rise. And so that analogy doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
But you know, I think we've managed to pack enough substantive change into the protocol, both in terms of the work the Inc. have been doing, and indeed the ancillary products like AlgoKit, that we now have no more kind of we don't have any of the kind of millstones around our neck anymore. We used to have this thing of like great protocol but hard to build for. That's not there anymore.
Nope,
used to have great in concept, but they're still building out the smart contract primitives and the ARCs. That's not there anymore. So we've eliminated all these problems, and so I certainly think that we have enough meat on the bones, to use your expression, that we will be successful in a positive cycle.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I mean, I definitely love, you know, still the excitement that's there within the Algorand community. I have a few other questions here. I want to just, you know, real quick run through them, or at least one of them. Just hopped on. Algo Nice, thanks for joining. John Woods announced one-click nodes launch date, or when is, I guess, the one-click node launch date?
Yeah. So it'll be before the 30th of this month. Let me tell you what happened with this.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So my vision on this was, I want more people to run consensus nodes.
Right.
I call them consensus nodes, but participation nodes, because I want to secure the network, because I want more stake online. And I don't just want the foundation to put more stake online. I want everyone to be putting more stake online, because it's again, I actually care about the decentralization. Of course, right now they don't get paid to do that. Maybe that will change in the future. Who knows? But I think it's something we should look at. But right now they don't. But still, you'll still have a lot of people who are interested in doing it because they have a lot of algo and they're interested in securing the network. But we have to make it easy. And look, it's still it's a little bit geeky, right? You know, running these nodes is not like playing a video game. But like we need to make it easy. And so at the moment, it's like find the GitHub repo. Go into the sub repo, Algorand Go. You're in the right one, the node. Yes, cool. Clone it. Now, like make sure you have a Golang stack installed. Make it, build it, get the binary, run the binary. Like
it's complicated.
And you got to have all the config parameters. You got to know what you're doing. We are in one-click nodes. Just this vision that, hey, this should be accessible to everyone. It should be like AlgoKit. It should be like node run. Hit enter. And so that's what one-click nodes will be this month when we release it in V1. And just on this, we had someone working on one-click nodes And unfortunately, it didn't work out. And so we kind of had to start it a little bit again. About a month ago, we kind of started again from scratch. And so I had to kind of get a new team working on it. And so we got a little bit delayed there. That's why when I was giving my kind of estimations, I said Q2, which I know we're coming right to the end of. But I'm very strongly convicted that we'll hit Q2. So I'm hoping before the end of the month. But I've given until the 30th, which is the last day of the month. But in its first version, it'll be super like easy to run a node, but it won't have like a GUI for managing keys and stuff. And I've mentioned this before, but we will make sure that bit is as easy as possible, but it won't be as seamless as where I want to take it. In version 1.1, 1.5, we're going to get this thing to a place where not only is it click to run a node, but it's also easy peasy to manage your staking keys. But you'll see how that manifests. But again, we had a little bit of a setback there, but it's still on target for this month.
Excellent.
And that's exciting because the entire thing I've always said is the reason why I feel like a lot of these other chains, like Ethereum, Bitcoin, or Monero, whatever it is, Litecoin, right? Dogecoin, even, like, you're able to, it's easier for people to get in, mine it, earn this cryptocurrency, obviously until Ethereum went to proof of stake. But even with certain proof of stake ones, right? Like Near, I grabbed some Near and I put it in a Near wallet, and I was able to, throw it into a pool and be a part of, earning those rewards passively, really simple, and sometimes with Algorand, it just hasn't been there. And so I do think, one, that you guys are on a great track to, one, getting it to where maybe getting rid of relay nodes if we can, to where it's just participation nodes, and then being able to incentivize those. I think that will highly bring more traffic and more people to do it, because like when you look at Ethereum, you got to have 32 ETH, or I bought a little bit of it was the Bitcoin layer 2 stacks, right? You got to have 100,000 stacks to start your own pool, right? Or you got to trust somebody else. And so 100,000 stacks, that's like 20 something or 40 something $1,000 or something. So all these networks have it to where anybody can do it, but you got to have money. And that's where I feel like Algorand could really set itself apart, because then if all you need is one algo to be able to participate, that's, right now it's 11 cents, but it's accessible to so many.
Yeah, totally. Of course, with one algo, you'll earn such a small amount that it won't be worth your while running the node. But,
right. But yeah, it's still the idea. It goes back to, I think, Silvio's philosophy, which was you build something that people would want to come because it's a good for humanity, and because it's inclusive, not exclusive.
Sure. I think you're absolutely right. Sorry, yes, you will tell me.
No, I was gonna make a totally different comment, because when we talk about fees, because I'm like, it's true, because I think about micropayments all the time and things of that nature. And there's a comment up here that asks about MAPay. If you want to comment on that, or even just a broad discussion of micropayments, is what I'm kind of interested in.
I don't think I know MAPay. Tell me about that one.
So that's the one out of India, and so I know with the Algo, all the development over there, that's one of the products that came out, so that way they can transact on chain with their own. I don't know what the dollar is called over there, but with their own money.
The Rupiah maybe, or the Rupee.
Yeah. So if you don't know, I was just curious about it, because mentioning like payments, nodes, the one algo, and this is something that most chains out here, you can't do a micro payment on at all.
Yeah, totally. And so I don't know that particular project well, but I do know the guys in ALGO Algorand, and our we've got a dedicated Algo India team, because it's just such a hotbed for developers at the moment. So I knew that they're doing a ton of work, like every single day. There's like emails with walls of text about all the stuff that they're doing. So I know that they're really pushing hard there.
They are.
Generally, though, totally agree. It's like one of the only networks that's suitable for this stuff, because when there are networks that are cheap. Yeah, there are networks that are fast. Yeah. There's not so many networks that are cheap, fast, and up all the time. And so it's really a network that's perfectly suitable for it. And so I think it's a killer use case. Another one that I've seen during the week was it's not actually launched yet. We're just talking about integrating with them. But there's a company that are doing this idea of like payment with a regular Visa or MasterCard, right? Like when you can tap in your local store, no one's going to give you any grief about it, and it spends the algo like instantaneously, but at the point, so like it only gets funded with the algo just at the moment you tap. So like you tap, it's like on the algo, it goes in. So there's no risk there, because you're not holding the algo like in dollar terms.
The price isn't going to change in 3 seconds, basically.
Right, exactly. And what's great is, it'll take maybe 3 seconds longer when you're tapping your Visa than it normally does, because it's got to do this extra bit. Okay, no big deal. But what you get for that is the ability to spend algo at a known price in a completely secure way, and in a way where this company that's implementing this doesn't have to worry about rollbacks. Imagine they're in a store that have the same thing with, let's say, Ethereum. And let's say magically Ethereum is really fast. So they tap 3 seconds, the Ethereum goes through. That would never happen, of course. But let's say,
like magic.
Yeah, magic. Then they still have to go, oh, Ethereum's had a rollback. Now all of a sudden that the guy's walked out with his bag of Whole Foods, and the Ethereum's now back in the person's account. So that's no good. That puts counterparty risk on people. And so Algo is a perfect use case for these like insta payments within even the context of Visa and MasterCard. So a lot going on there. But again, what you'll find is in these kind of bear markets, you have the most amount of people who are building quietly away, and then all of a sudden, when the positive cycle kind of returns, assuming it does, hopefully it does, you just see this like flourishing of the ecosystem, which I'm hoping is going to be the case.
Yeah, it's gonna be huge. Daffy is building a whole merchant suite, and something I think everybody should look into as well. Daffy wallet.
I would just say that this is a great segue into the the groundbreaking thing that just got created, which is POI, right? I mean, a lot of people love pure proof of stake, but POI. Not many people know about proof of imagination, right? And Devin has done a phenomenal job. No, I know I'm kind of joking here, but I'm also being serious, because just like you said,
in the midst of these holders,
right? It's in the midst of these bear markets that you see the community take a stand and start doing something. And I know a lot of people, we got like 60, 70 people watching. A lot of people, you may know what Coop is, you may not know what Coop is. I know John Woods is holding his Coop. He's got some. He's a part of the Koopa Troopas. Coop Toshi broke Toshi's vision. But we
got Cooper Daniels come out, right? He sparks a movement that creates intergenerational wealth, right? I'm not gonna miss out on that, am I? What kind of fool?
You can't. We got to get Stacy to change her profile picture to the Coop coin, so she's got to jump on, because I'll say this: Coop launched that thing and had no idea, no plans for what it's come to now. Like he had, if he'd have known, just like he said on his live today, if he'd have known that he was dropping and it was going to be worth that much, he would have definitely probably kept a little bit, but he didn't, right? He gave it out to everybody. And it has been cool to see Algorand, the people of Algorand, D13, various NFT projects, gather around and start building around, this. Imagine, this coin that literally just came out of nowhere and people are adding value to it. But the reason why I highlight it is because Algorand is the perfect space for something like that to even take off, because it's just because of what it, like, Algorand is doing everything that it needs to do, right? All it has to do is it takes us, the builders, the people who talk about it, and the developers and the holders, to actually do something. And I have been preaching this for the past 2 months. Like, if you want to see, and this is to all the, 62 people that are watching right now, if you want to see Algorand grow, get off your butt, walk, go somewhere, whether you're going to the gym, to McDonald's, I don't even care where, the grocery store, and do what I did the past week, which is get somebody to download a Pair wallet, send them some Algo, send them some Coop coin, send them something, and show them how easy it is to self-custody their own assets. If people started doing that, then we wouldn't be asking John Woods, when's the TPS going to go up? The TPS would just start going up. That's the truth right there.
Yes. It's of course, by the way, I should say, just because I don't want people to blame me if they lose money, these meme coins are up and down, so no guarantee of wealth. But put it this way, I'm hoping that someday I can sell maybe 70 or 80 Coop and buy a chateau beside the Rothschilds in the south of France.
There we go. Exactly.
I'll visit.
It's coming.
That'd be nice. Or I might live next to you.
Less than 21 million supply. So you got, better than Bitcoin, faster than Bitcoin.
It's better than Bitcoin, faster than Bitcoin, more decentralized than Bitcoin.
And you said Algorand's quantum, at the most quantum secure. So that means Coop is by nature quantum secure. Coop chain is quantum secure.
I'm sitting on 600 coins, man. That's like 0.0% of the supply. And by the way, they are never leaving. I'm never selling. Not until they're worth $1 million a Coop.
Exactly. So if you got less than 600 Coop, obviously, John Woods is setting the bar. You should not have less than 600. You should be meeting John where he's at. So obviously, John, it's been an hour. We love that you've come on the show to talk everything about what Algorand is doing, on the tech side, as well as, everything that, from the ink side and even from the partnerships and everything. You kind of answered a lot, maybe even more that was out of your, your realm of knowledge. But, thanks for answering all those questions. We look forward to having you back on the show. And obviously, to everybody in the chat, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Share this video out there because we need more people to learn about Algorand. And John Elmwoods does a great job at breaking down so much of this stuff. So really appreciate it.
And
thank you, John.
Yeah, listen, thanks both of you for having me on. I really love coming on. I really enjoy the show with you guys. And thanks to the community for all their support. And I got a lot of lovely messages from them and I really appreciate it. So looking forward to the next year building together.
Yes. All right, y'all. So once again, we are closing out episode 59. Big shout out to where we at, NF Domains. If you ain't got one, go get you one for sure. And we about to be going, y'all. Any words for you, David?
No, we're gonna see if we can close this one out better than we did last time. We got a new exit outro, so it's hard to time, but we'll try our best.
All right, y'all have a great rest of y'all. I don't know what day it is. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day or night. All right, here we go.